To my project, which states three main functions: the prevention of pollution, or we can say the minimization of pollution, the prevention of accidents at railway crossings, and the last one, saving of electricity. So let's start from the first one. You know what is denote? This are the absorbance stated near the road crossings or zebra crossings or traffic signals. You know why we have stated this here? Because in India mostly you can see that many people don't turn off their vehicles well at the red signal on the traffic lights. You know why? Because they put their engine on. As soon as the signal turns yellow and green, they would rush off, and this is the main problem. You know what it causes? It causes much and more pollution. The exhaust pipe of vehicles leave many harmful gases like SO2, CO2, CO, and NO2. You know what does it do? It goes to the environment and pollute in several ways. To reduce this, there are four absorbents. You know what does do? At the traffic signals, it absorbs all the pollutants released from the exhaust pipe of vehicles. It transfers it to the nearby factory, where at first in the condenser, all the gases are condensed and the radioactive materials are condensed in such a way that they do not affect the gas which is left behind, that is carbon dioxide. From the carbon dioxide, if we separate carbon, how? Let's see, it can be solidified easily. You know what is formed when it solidifies? It forms air ink. The solidified carbon in this process is called air ink. Let's see how does it get its name. The carbon which you can find after solidification is non-pollutant, as it is in solid form, as well as it has removed radioactivity, which is very useful as we can use it in many pens, ink, and as well as pencils. So this is how we can reduce pollution. And the leftover oxygen, you know where it goes? From the chimney, it goes straight to the environment, and this is how pure oxygen is released into the environment from the polluted one. So let's move on to our second system, that is the prevention of accidents. That is the prevention of accidents at the railway crossings. You might have seen many times that when the signal is red and the gates are closed, then also people cross the road in such a way that the train many a times crushes them, and this is the reason of most of the accidents, either down the gates or the side from the railway crossings. So to minimize this, we have made a system in such a way that we have raised the track 1.5 to 2 meters from the ground, and this makes the task easier. You know how? The people cannot cross the road from the sideways, because as the track is very high, and in another way, it reduces the accidents of many of our wildlife. Many elephants are dying on the tracks, and this is endangering our wildlife. That also because climbing 1.5 to 2 meter height is very difficult for an elephant and a heavy being or any animal. So this is minimized. And how the gates? Our system includes two such gates that when they are raised, they form a big barrier, or you can say a large hump at the gates, which won't allow any people to cross the gates. And let's see how this works. So in the place of a sensor, we are using a switch here, because the affording sensor was very costly, and if you want to place a sensor, you can place it here. You know what is denote? This distance shall be nearly 2 to 3 kilometers from the railway crossing. Any railway crossing. It doesn't mean that it is should be near to the station or far away from the city. It is for any railway crossing, and mainly it should be implemented at the unmanned railway crossings. You can implement a sensor here, and when the train arrives at the sensor, then it would sense the train and it would ring a beep alarm, or we can say a buzzer or a siren for 2 to 3 minutes, which would make aware of all the people that a train is going to arrive, and they would move out from the gates. And after that, what would happen? The gates would just rise and cause a big barrier, and the train can pass easily without any confliction from the people or any vehicle stuck on the track. So let's see it's working. The train has been left from the station, and it is from a radius of 4 kilometers from the railway crossings, and there is a warning due to a sensor. This is for 2 minutes, and this can be reduced as well as increased by calculating the distance and the speed of the train. So after the buzzer, what happened? So the gates open, and this is how the barrier is created, and the train leaves the station and it reaches to a tunnel. And that's our last system. How does it work? It saves electricity in such a way that in which tunnel the train is to go, that tunnel should be lighted. Why to light all the two tunnels? Why to waste electricity throughout the day? So we have made such a sensing device which turns on the light of that particular tunnel in which the train is to go, and saving electricity, the maximum amount of electricity which we dissipate due to the whole day working of the tunnel lights. So this is how we save electricity. Here we save electricity, here we minimize accidents, and there we reduce the pollution in the environment. And this is how our future going to be if we implement this whole system.